and this is your Board of Education for the Glendora Unified School District, and we are reconvening from closed session. And so now we'll open the session at 6:16. Can we have a roll call vote, please? A roll call attendance?
Member Garcia? Present. Board Clerk Ham?
Present.
Board Member Munoz?
Present.
President Clifford?
Present.
Please note that Vice President Lopez is absent.
We do not have a student report tonight, as the students are free and clear. So we will stand up and pledge allegiance to our flag. Would you put your right hand over your heart and repeat after me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for that. Okay, 3.5 is adopting the agenda. I will, oh, it's not on there. Where does it, yeah, that's 3.3. We have reported action from closed session, believe it or not. We actually did some work. That's why we were late. So in closed session, item 2.4, the Glendora Unified Board of Trustees in closed session upon a motion by Dr. Munoz, seconded by Dr. Kayam, and a vote of 4 yeses has approved a settlement agreement for student case number 23-3948. Under 2.5, the Glendora Unified Board of Trustees in closed session upon a motion by Trustee Garcia, seconded by Dr. Munoz, and a vote of 4 yeses has approved a settlement agreement for OAH case number 202-503-0819. And then, item 2.7, the Board of Education is pleased to announce with a motion by Trustee Garcia, seconded by Dr. Munoz, and a vote of 4 yeses, that Kristen Jelsund has been appointed to be the next Assistant Principal of Sandburg Middle School. The appointment will be effective July 21, 2025, and he will be placed on step 4 of the Certified Management Salary Schedule. Congratulations. I turn it over to Dr. DeGrazia for a quick moment.
Thank you, Mr. Clifford. Congratulations to Kristen. She's going to be outstanding at Sandburg Middle School as their new assistant principal. Dr. Osborne will have a few more words to say.
Yeah, we're excited to officially introduce her here shortly, but Kristen rose to the very top out of 47 applicants, 12 of which were interviewed and went through a very rigorous interview panel with 13 staff members and parents. Ms. Jelsand comes to us with a wealth of experience as an intervention teacher, an instructional coach, dean of student behavior, both a high school and middle school assistant principal, and as an educational specialist in the area of curriculum instruction for the Hawaii State Department of Education. She is incredibly student and staff centric, has a great personality. I think she's going to be a wonderful addition to our Spartan family. Thank you.
Congratulations again. All right, so that was closed session, and I'll move back to adopting the agenda. Tonight's agenda is going to have 2 changes to it. Dr. DeGrazia, can you explain change number 10.4, please?
I can. Yes, item 10.4 is a resolution in regards to business services item that needs to be moved to a discussion action item due to its emergency resolution aspects, and that is to replace the roof at Glendora High School for the affected music wing due to the fire in March. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And so 10.4 will be after 6.8 on discussion action items. And then we have a staff presentation and public hearing, 5.1. And we are going to take 6.1, which is an action item and discussion, and move it up to just after 5.1. So those 2 changes again in section 5. We'll go 5.1, 6.1, and then back to 5.2. And in section 6, 6.1 will be removed. And we'll go from section 6.8 to 10.4. Can I have a motion to adopt that agenda, please?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition to that? Thank you. Now, there's a lot of people in the audience for this, so we can get this done. It's very well deserved. It's the board recognition, actually even the community recognition of the Glendora High School varsity baseball team. I'll turn it over to Dr. DeGrazia for this prestigious moment.
Thank you. My distinct honor and privilege to recognize the CIF champion baseball team, only the second CIF baseball championship in the history of the school, the first in 15 years. What an outstanding team it was, and it took a team to get to the finish line of the championship for sure. Outstanding work all the way through. They were headed and led by their coach and their fearless leader, Coach Jerry Llewellyn, who's also been named Coach of the Year for the region and by CIF. Let's congratulate him and bring up Principal Jamie Norrell. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you, Dr. DeGrazia and Board of Trustees. We are elated to be here tonight to celebrate these young men who took us on the most fabulous ride that lasted all the way into the summer, watching their successes. But as Dr. DeGrazia said, the one thing I know Coach Llewellyn won't mention tonight are the amazing accolades that he has received as a head coach. He was named the San Gabriel Valley Coach of the Year, as well as the CIF Division III Coach of the Year. I know he will tell you it was a group effort, and absolutely he had an amazing coaching staff along with him, but I wanted to make sure that he got the recognition he deserved for leading this team on this amazing season.
Dr. DeGrazia, Board of Trustees, thank you for having us here this evening. We are here tonight because of 22 great young men, right? And we got a nice chunk of them here. It's hard in the summertime. Some of them are on vacation. But it is because of those 22 great young men. We're here tonight because we have coaches that care and we have coaches that put in the time. And we've had coaches that have been around our school for 20-something years. Coach Bundy, are you awake? I see you. And so that's why we're here tonight. In terms of the season, we finished 23-11. We won a CIF championship, right? The outcome is something that should be celebrated. But what we're most proud of with this group is the journey, right? The daily work that it took, the bond that they built on and off the field, the unselfishness that it takes to be a great teammate, okay? We have a saying in our program, confidence with class. The confidence piece is the ability to compete at your very best, pitch by pitch. Not worrying about outcomes, right? It's like playing with the scoreboard turned off, right? We don't care about the outcomes. We just care about having that confidence to be at your very best. The second piece of that is the class piece. And again, this is another reason I'm most proud of this group. We're most proud of this group. This group did it the right way, okay, on a daily basis, in games. And you see youth sports, and sometimes we just never cared about other teams and what they were doing. It was always about us. They represented themselves, our program, our school, and our community with class daily. So thank you for having them here tonight and celebrating these fine young athletes that we have at GHS. Thank you.
So, Coach, do you want to bring up your guy? There's certificates there. There's an award there. We'd like to have them in front of the,
We'll take the certificates
and give them. Yeah, just right here. The board will stand up behind them. I know they're pretty tall, so we need a little boost up here.
For sure.
Guys, all the way back here.
Come, Coach Buck, only if he comes. All right.
Semicircle right here.
Okay, even with the dais, you guys are gonna have to peek through a shoulder here.
We'll try to fit in the gap.
That's what I was gonna say.
There we go. We'll fit in the gap. There we go.
All right, one, and I am not a tall person. 1, 2, 3.
All right. Congratulations. 3.7, which is public comment. I have no speaker cards, which is a new thing for me, so that's great. That means that it's a good night tonight for, we don't have a lot of people that want to give us feedback. So we will open public comment at 6:26, and we will close public comment at 6:26.05. All right, we'll move on to oral reports. Item 4.1, comments from the members of the Board of Education. I'll start to my right, Dr. Munoz.
Okay, thank you, Gary. Just briefly, as we're in the summer session, just want to first off congratulate all the high school graduates from the recent graduation from Glendora High School, and all the kids that got their promotions. I know this is a new year coming up, and so we're working hard as a board to make this school district the best for our community. Love hearing the feedbacks from everyone, but so far everything looks good on my end.
Perfect. Dr. Cam?
Along the similar lines with Mr. Munoz, I'm really excited for all the students who have graduated and moved on and have had a little bit of time to sleep in and get some rest. I've been shocked, though, at the amount of work that people in the executive cabinet and district have been doing. So thank you so much to the people that are working here at the district office. It's wild to see from my perspective all of the gearing up and all of the pieces whirring and getting ready for a new school year already. So to anybody who's working at any of the school sites or here at the district office, thank you very much. And I know the students will feel that impact in the coming months. So really appreciate it and hope everybody has a fun, safe summer. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll keep it brief. Along the same line, congratulations to all our graduates on your next adventure, journey, wherever life is taking you. I'm very excited for you and hope you come back and visit. Thank you to our staff for working through the summer. I think a lot of our community members don't realize that you're still on, that you don't get to take a long extended break. So thank you for all the work that you put in. And also, with that said, as your board member, always available and always available to listen to any questions, comments, concerns, accolades you may have for us. So please don't hesitate to reach out via social media or email. I'm always available. So thank you for keeping that communication going with us. That's all.
Last for me, I echo those comments. I just want to say that it was very nice to be able to be with all the graduates handing out the certificates. But the blessing behind that was that I probably received 30 to 35 pictures from parents up in the stands as I was giving them their little diploma, and those are always nice to get from the parents. And then the little statements that are there are always encouraging. And I think graduation night was a lot of fun. The students were like well behaved. I mean, I don't know how they do that, but they had a practice in the morning, and then they showed up for the real thing in the afternoon, and they were like model citizens during the practice and during the graduation, which when I'm watching all the other things happening in the world, I'm very blessed that our students are that well behaved and that engaged in that promotional ceremony, which I find very pleasing. As you know, we've received a lot of emails and phone calls about all the open administrative positions in the district right now. I feel it's a blessing to have our administrative staff and our executive cabinet working through those diligently and really trying to pick the best of the best people for Glendora. So we will keep you apprised as that process comes through, and as the people that are leaving the organization, whether it's retirement or they're moving on to a different job or moving inside the district, we'll be transparent about those moves and who's coming in. And like you heard tonight, the new hire, the new assistant principal up at Sandburg, and the comments that our executive cabinet had about that. So we appreciate all of the emails and phone calls, and I had an opportunity to meet with the Glendora Education Foundation in the last few weeks, and it was a very enlightening and I think positive and engaging meeting. So I appreciate the Education Foundation's leadership and working with the Board of Trustees here, and more importantly, working with our students and parents for those specific needs And I think they'll be up later tonight, so hopefully they'll remind all of us how much money the organization has garnered for the district year to date. And this year, it's a very impressive amount, and we're grateful that they work with the district in those areas of need. So I will then turn it over now to the most important update tonight, which is the superintendent report. Thank you.
No pressure.
Yep.
Thank you, sir. We congratulate, as everyone has, our graduates, Whitcomb High School, Glendora High School. Also, a group of 5 students at Whitcomb High School that we celebrated in their special ceremony were our adult transition students, age 22, who were leaving us after many, many years. So we are thankful for them and their hard work in reaching that finish line. There is summer learning happening, certainly at Glendora High School. Last week or so of that taking place, and also at Cullen, our extended school year, and we have some classes at Sandburg taking place as well. So things are still moving for sure. We want to wish safe travels and good skill, Dr. Kayam, good skill to our band and pageantry groups as they head out to Washington, D.C. for the July 4th parade coming up. They have special activities planned. I plan to meet them there for some of the activities on July 3rd, and then certainly July 4th for the parade and viewing of the fireworks in the evening. So we look forward to that. You will hear budget and LCAP updates and information this evening. Kudos to our Educational Services Department and the Business Services Department as well for putting that information together. It will be insightful to hear those updates. Reminder that we will be implementing, as we do annually, a 4-10 schedule, Monday through Thursday, 10-hour days beginning on July 7th. We'll be back to the regular work weeks on August 4th. If you're looking for the calendars for next year, both are already on the website, the 25-26 calendar and the 26-27 for those that plan those trips way out. You can get those secured and see where the dates are. We want everybody to enjoy a safe summer with those that they care about and love, and we hope to see everybody back, except for the seniors, of course, who've moved on and you're our adult transition graduates. Everybody back on first day of school will be August 14th. It's now my pleasure to introduce Ms. Priti Patel, Executive Director of the Glendora Education Foundation, and Daniel Boyer, Glendora Education Foundation President, to present some additional generous donations from the GUSD community that has allowed for some of our interested teachers to participate in STEM learning.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. DeGrazia, Board of Trustees and Executive Cabinet, and community, of course. My name is Daniel Boyer, President of the Glendora Education Foundation, and we recently had our annual Sip and Support change this year from our normal Food for Thought event, and we had a extremely successful event with over 150 attendees, and we were able to raise over $150,000 that evening. One of our big pushes that night was to help our STEAM labs, which have all been opened at the elementary schools, and this summer, currently in progress, are our 2 at the middle schools that we were excited to see come to fruition this coming school year. We did a paddle raise event at this event to raise $26,000 was our goal, to send teachers and some staff members off to training for how to utilize these STEAM labs to the best of their ability. And we are excited to say that at that paddle raise, we actually outdid ourselves, and the community supported, and we raised $31,000 with a goal of $26,000. So it was amazing to see the community come out and support our teachers. Even cooler was that we got notice from the district that additional teachers would like to take this training and over the summer, which was even more impressive, and that an additional $5,000 would send every teacher that wanted to go to the training for these STEAM labs. So we went back to a last push to our community, asking them if they would help support to be able to send the teachers there, and they came through, and we raised an additional $5,000 after our event towards the end of the school year, which is always a tough time for people. So thank you so much to the community for all that you guys give to help our, not just students, but also staff in a lot of ways to give back to our students, which are well deserving of it. So tonight we actually get to do the one No, there's several fun things, but this is probably the most fun thing that we get to do, which is present you guys with checks that go back to our staff and our students to utilize to try and help benefit our schools. So
We're going to present the $36,000 check because the STEAM summer training just happened a couple of weeks ago, I believe. And so we want to present the check for that.
yeah, so we have a check for $36,000, which was able to send
30.
30 teachers to get trained for these STEAM labs that will be opening and be able to operate them this coming school year. So we're very excited to see how that all plays out for our students. So thank you guys so much for all that you do.
Thank you. Michael, who's the GEF rep? Is that you?
Me and Monica.
Okay, why don't you guys are the GEF reps, so why don't you guys go accept the check, and I think that's wonderful. We'll stand up behind you, and you guys accept.
Not as tall as a baseball player.
That's okay, they were very tall. I had to stand on my tippy toes to be seen. So we'll do that, you guys will get in the gap there, how do we go? Okay, all right, perfect, that works, yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.
That was very nice.
Can I say a couple comments?
You're going to.
Thank you. I also want to shout out that GEF and their support has been instrumental, but what's really nice is that the feedback that I got from teachers has been really wonderful. You know, so many times our teachers go to trainings and they come back and go, I don't know, it would be nice to have a few extra hours in a classroom. But I was talking to teachers left and right that were saying it was so cool, we got to learn such great things, I'm so excited to be able to use this. And so I just want to say thank you. And what's really nice is it resonated, it's very useful for the teachers too, which is great. So thanks, guys.
On a personal level, real quick, we would also like to thank Principal Norrell, who was a partner of ours for many years that we were able to work with, and excited to see her move above and beyond. But also just want to thank her for her service of working with us over the years and helping us out as well. So good luck to her and everything.
Thank you.
I have a comment.
Go ahead.
I too want to echo Dr. Khayyam's comments, but more importantly, I think I've been helping out to some degree and donating to the foundation for a good 11 years now. And I want to just say thank you to the both of you, because the amount of tenacity and creativity that is required to continue the foundation going deserves some kind of acknowledgement, because raising funds for a nonprofit has changed drastically, and it's becoming increasingly difficult to do that. And you guys have been very creative, and you know, the Sip and Support is one prime example of that. It's scary to change things, and you went for it, and you did a brilliant job. I enjoyed it tremendously, and I received a lot of, you know, phone calls and text messages from people that had been to the Food for Thought and thought, oh, this is a great new take, but also people who had never attended and were able to attend and just loved the event. So thank you for being creative in that way, for sticking with it, because our students and some of our programs are really counting on the work that you do. So I know that sometimes the work that you do behind the scenes, it goes unnoticed. We say it's a community effort 100%, but it is led by the two of you this year, so I really want to say thank you for the work that you do to continue to work with us to provide our students those opportunities. Thank you.
I want to make a comment. I want to thank both you two, because I know the time and energy that you both put. I know we have our own day lives, our other businesses that we handle, and for you guys to put that time into it, on behalf of the board, I really appreciate it. I see all the time and energy. And the Sip and Support was a great event. I really enjoyed it. I'm happy you were able to raise that amount of money, and it was because of your two efforts. I really appreciate it. So bottom of my heart, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, staff, get ready. We're moving to the presentations and public hearings. The first one, item 5.1, is the initial joint sunshine proposal from the CSEA, Chapter 247, and GUSD for the 2025-2026 year. Dr. DeGrazia.
Dr. Osborne will present.
All right, thank you. I'd like to welcome the president of our CSCA Chapter 247, Mrs. Yana Carrillo, up to the mic, please. With your approval through board action this evening, we request the formal opening, or what we call sunshining, of negotiations between the district and the California School Employees Association, CSCA, Chapter 247 for the 25-26 school year. Articles to be negotiated include association rights, holidays, salary, fringe benefits, classified employee work calendar, vacation, and safety.
Both CSC and the district are committed to a collaborative and productive process, focused on strengthening the services provided to students and supporting the needs of our valued classified staff. We approach these negotiations with mutual respect, trust, and a shared goal of reaching a fair and timely agreement.
We are grateful for the dedication and hard work of our classified employees, many of which are working throughout the summer to prepare for the next school year, and we appreciate the efforts of both negotiation teams as they prepare for this important work. Thank you again for your consideration.
Thank you for that, and we really appreciate the CSEA being here tonight in this lonely room with us. We appreciate that dedication. Are there any questions of this public hearing? I have, I am going to say the public hearing is now open for the initial joint sunshine proposal from the Glendora School Employees Association, Chapter 247, and Glendora Unified School District for 2025-26 at 6:43. There are no comments, so at 6:43.10, I'm going to close that public comment and come back to the agenda where item 6.1, which is a discussion action over the same issue, will be presented. Dr. DeGrazia.
I don't believe we have any further presentation. If there are any questions, we'll happily answer those.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? None? Is there a motion? We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Item 6.1 passes. Thank you very much. You can sneak out and no one will say, look at her go. That was quick. That was very quick. Good night. Thank you. Item 5.2, staff presentation and information for the Local Control Accountability Plan, which is a fancy name for the acronym LCAP. Dr. DeGrazia.
Thank you. We look forward to hearing from Dr. Prince and Dr. Naharro in regards to the LCAP this evening in terms of where we are and where we are headed.
All right, so thank you all for having us here tonight. Just as a reminder for this, we did hear a lot of this data at the mid-year LCAP. Some of it we also heard at, in February when we approved our SARC reports. But this is a required presentation and we just want to keep you updated. So when you look at the LCAP, the function of the LCAP is basically a strategic plan using data. Looking at that data, we formulate goals, we formulate actions to move towards those goals, and then we use the metrics for the accountability of how are we doing on these goals. So all that to say, strategic plan with accountability in there. And then looking at the process, you develop your annual, you develop the LCAP, you do the annual update. This is year one of a 3-year cycle. So we're reflecting on how did year one go in this. We look at that, we develop it, we do data analysis and reflection on there, we bring in our educational partners. You'll hear more about the educational partners in a little bit. We present those, and then we write and revise the plan based on the data and the feedback we get from our educational partners. Then it goes to our adoption process. We had our Educational Partners Committee have a preview of all of this on May 14th after, so they could really see where their input was. We had a lot of community members as part of that as well. So we had GAF, we had one of our board members, Trustee Garcia, our labor partners were part of that, teachers, administrators, classified staff, parents, students, lots of different folks have a voice in this. We also have a broader voice through our LCAP surveys with our students, our families, and our staff. So we want to make sure we have all that. Then we present it here to you guys tonight, and then we'll vote on it on Thursday. If that were to pass, then our next is review and approval with the County Office of Education. They have pre-reviewed it. I don't like to put things to chance, so they have pre-reviewed, and we have gotten a solid evaluation in the pre-review process. And then if the county says yes, you implement year 2. So just an overview of what the process looks like for background knowledge. So I'm not going to read all of these to you. You have a really long document in front of you online. But these are the basic components you'll see in there. You have, we call it the BOP, the Budget Overview for Parents, our plan summary, our goals and actions, the increased and improved services for our target student groups, as well as a lot more information on how we engage our educational partners in that. And then you'll also notice, I just wanted to point out, sometimes you'll see in parentheses like priority 1, 2, and 4. So those are state priorities, not district dictated. So these are the 8 priorities that the state requires you to address in your LCAP. We chose to actually put those in parentheses and highlight where they were to make it really clear should anyone want to reference those state priorities. And now I'm going to turn it over to my partner, the data guru, Dr. Najarro.
So you've seen this slide from me many a time. It's my favorite slide. It's all about the dashboard. But I'm not going to share all of those pieces of data with you tonight unless you want me to. I can always do, don't give me that look. Look at that look. He's like, no. But the reason we present that to you is because all of the metrics in the LCAP connect to the dashboard. So we want you to know what we're sharing has a connection to the dashboard, or really the dashboard has a connection to the LCAP. All of the state priorities that Dr. Prince just shared are all connected into the dashboard. You'll also see there's a little link up there where it says local indicators. The local indicators are the boxes on the bottom, on the bottom row, and the one on the right of the middle row. Part of the LCAP, we also have to present to you what we call the local indicators and how we are measuring our progress on the local indicators. What's interesting about the local indicators, though, is that according to the powers that be that have directed how we do the process of the LCAP, is that unfortunately I can't present the local indicators to you this evening. The rules and regulations say that I have to present the local indicators to you on the same night that you vote to adopt the LCAP. So, as a little preview, I will be presenting those local indicators to you on Thursday evening. But they're in there, and there's a little link to that, but we do that on the same night of the vote. That's just the rules and regs. I don't know why it is, but that is what is there. Important to note that when we talk about the metrics and we talk about the goals and actions in the LCAP, we always have to bring it back to our student groups, which we've talked about before. We have all of our student groups, and we note that those are the groups that have 30 or more, with the exception of our long-term English learners, our foster youth, and our homeless youth. Those are groups that have 15 or more. And if you remember when we talked about this earlier in the year, the long-term English learners are a new group this year to the dashboard as well as in the LCAP. So last year when we presented, the LTALs were not in the LCAP. This year they are. So it's important to note that these are the groups that we focus on when we're looking at our goals and our actions. Furthermore, one of the things that we have to focus on in our LCAP, and the slide looks kind of wonky, but we always have to point out when we're writing the LCAP, all of our groups that are in the orange and the red. These, you've heard about all of these groups already. When each of the schools presented their own school's data, they talked about which groups, which subgroups were in the orange and red. This is just a summary of them all. One of the things that I do want to point out, though, is that this year, is compared to the years before, we do have many, much less groups that are in the red overall than we had in the past. So that the groups, the amount of subgroups that are in the red are decreasing by leaps and bounds for our district. We do still have many groups that are in those areas, and those are the groups we want to continue to focus on, but we are making those improvements. So we want to talk about, when we looked at those sections, we had the plan summary and then we had the goals and actions. So this is our first goal. This is goal 1. And as Dr. Prince pointed out, you'll see in the parentheses the priorities that those connected to. Goal 1 is focused on student achievement. This is our primary goal that we focus everything on. And the primary metric of this goal is our state data, our CASP data. All other of our goals truly support this goal as well. The majority of the metrics of these goals were presented in our mid-year LCAP, and is actually, it's kind of stagnant, it's kind of old data because it's data from April of 2024. We did just take the state test data in April of 2025, but the test data that we have is not public yet. We're just getting that back. We're just starting to get pieces of that data, but it's not, whoa, I got all excited about it. It's not public yet, so we can't put it in the LCAP as of yet. So you've gotten pieces of that before, but it's not in this just as yet. So just important to note about that. So here are some of the actions that are all part of goal 1. You'll also notice that in goal 1, because it's our largest goal, it's also our goal that has the most actions that are connected to it because so much happens around student achievement. So you'll see that that goal is full of the most actions. So when we talk about actions in goal 1, we also want to talk about the metrics. And what I want to point out is as we go through our 4 goals, we have 4 goals altogether. The next slides, when we talk about goal 1, 2, 3, and 4, are all formatted for you in the same way. You'll see the different actions, and then you'll see the different columns. So we have the metric for the different actions, and that is column 1. Then you'll see column 2 is the baseline. That's where we started when we first developed the LCAP. Remember, the LCAP is 2024 till 2027. It's a 3-year plan. So that first column right there is all based on the 2023 dashboard when we developed this a year ago. So that's where we started. And then column 3, that is current, which is the most up-to-date data available, which is actually really based on the 2024 dashboard because the 2024-25 data isn't out yet. So it's really, even though it's this year's LCAP, it's last year's data, which we presented to you, the most up-to-date data we presented mid-year to you. And then column 4, that's where we want to end at the end of our 3-year cycle. So we just wanted to point out to that. So, here are some of the pieces of metric. I'm not going to read all of that data to you, but these are some of the metrics that we use to measure goal 1. Of course, we use our state data in language arts and math. We also want to make sure that we have fully credentialed teachers and all of our textbooks. We look at our pathways. We look at completion rates. And then we also look at what we're doing with our English language learners. We look at our reclassification rates. I can tell you we did reclassify 102 students this year, which is the most we've ever reclassified, which is an amazing number. We look at our science data. We look at our AP exams. Again, we don't have all of that data. It's coming out, so you will actually see that data again in our mid-year update in December. So here are some more of those metrics. Again, you have all that data in front of you. And again, you will see, for example, in the CASP math, that's our state data for math. I wanted to point out, like you'll see at the bottom where it says FY, that's our foster youth, and see where it says no data available. That's because there was, remember I talked about those student groups, there was under 15, so that's why we don't have data available. I just wanted to connect that. And that's bottom where it says CCI, that was that college and career indicator, just reminding you what that was part of the dashboard, so you know what some of those acronyms are. Sometimes we forget what those acronyms are. So you'll see again those student groups, those are the baseline, and where we want to end up. Those are our goals. So those are some of the metrics we use to measure student achievement. So now I'm going to turn the rest of the goals back over to Dr. Prince.
Thank you. So goal 2 is focused on student attendance and engagement. And although you'll see in here, looking at the actions that go with it, a lot of these are systems, supports, breaking down barriers for why our kids might not make it to school every day. So for example, one of those, you look at Glendora Gives, the Resource Center. If you have a student who doesn't want to come to school because they're embarrassed, they don't have the supplies, they're wearing the same shirt every day, we do not want that barrier. They go to Glendora Gives, they get the supplies they need, the clothing, the food, the resources to ensure they can come. And although this is a separate goal, when they can come to school, we can support them and teach them, and it increases their learning. So you'll see all of these goals actually impact that goal 1 of student achievement. We're supporting the whole child to make sure that we can increase the learning. So as you're looking at these, again, you have all this in front of you. I'm not going to read everything. A few of the things I want you to see, though, is noticing that we had done those orange and red on our different subgroups. So when you look, yes, overall, we want all of our students to increase in attendance. We want to decrease our chronic absenteeism, increase our positive attendance. But we don't just look at the all student group. We also dig into all of our different subgroups. And one of the things I want to point out that we're really proud of, yes, there is some work to be done on a lot of these subgroups, but every single subgroup decreased in chronic absenteeism and increased in positive attendance. That's wonderful. So that means we're doing things right. But we also look at this and we show things like our LTEL, which strangely you'll actually see in baseline data, because that was our first year we had it. We had to put it in baseline. We look at that and we say, wow, 24.4% compared to 11.2 overall. We need to dig in and look at how we're supporting our long-term English learners in attending school. What's missing and how can we help to bring them in more so that we can help them to make faster progress. So we are digging into those. We are also digging into an area of growth. Our high school graduation went down 2%. This is actually combined for both of our high schools. It is still the highest rating you can get on the dashboard. It's a blue. So 95.2 is stellar, but for us, it's a decrease, and we need to look at that and dig to the root cause and figure out exactly what's happening and how we support those students that weren't graduating. So know that we're digging deeper into those. So lots of things to celebrate here, but also a few areas of growth we're focusing on. Goal 3 is our family engagement and communication. We want family and community engagement, and we do that in a variety of different ways. This isn't just about one-way communication. We really want to look at how many different platforms do we use? We use a lot of different social media. Some of our parents are comfortable on Instagram, some on Facebook, some don't have social media at all, so we're going to use Parent Square. That also has accessibility features where it allows parents to set their preferred native language. So I can type my message in English, send it out to all families, and they can get it in their language of comfort. You also have some different things like accessibility features on our website. Mrs. Espino, Dr. Espino did an amazing job redoing our websites and revamping them about a year ago to have more uniformity, and it was actually interesting. We had some recent interviews, and one of the candidates was like, wow, great job on whoever does your websites. Very clear, very accessible. So we really look at those because we want to make sure our parents have the communication to engage. They know the opportunities to come be partners in their child's education. So we want to basically over-communicate. I used to say this at Goddard, and now I'll say it here. I want people to know everything that's happening here, and if they don't know, it's because they're hiding from me. So we want to over-communicate. Some of our metrics in this, when you look, we increased our parent opportunities and our parent participants this year. And if you look, we also increased on our family perception barriers to engagement. We went up 2%. That means 83% of our families say there are little to no barriers to their engagement. And the most interesting part, and as a mom, I will totally agree with this, about half of our families said the barrier is their own busy schedule. So we're doing everything we can to help them participate. We also had 84% of our families, a 3% increase, saying that their schools are welcoming to them. And then family input, we have continued to increase the opportunities for direct family input through a variety of different methods. So we're trying to make sure that our families are partners in our education and have plenty of opportunities and the knowledge of those opportunities to join us. Our final goal, goal 4, is about physically and digitally safe schools. And when you look at those, you can see there's a lot of actions here focusing on the physical and digital safety. And really, those are super important because we want safe learning environments for our students and our staff so that they can come to school, feel safe, and learn, reinforcing that goal 1, student achievement. So as I said earlier, all of our goals are about creating environments and supports where our students can learn. So if you look at those, some of the highlights, looking at some of the glows I want to point out, looking at our student and family perceptions of safe schools, those both increased by 2 to 3%. That's wonderful. They're feeling safe at school. And then we realized as we were doing that, we need to know if our teachers feel safe at school. So we added that in as well, and 77% of our teachers feel safe, continually safe at school. There are some where it's I feel sometimes, I feel always, but our teachers are feeling safe as well. There's the one area of growth was action 4.2, maintenance of our facilities. You already discussed these and they were presented at the School Accountability Report Card adoption in February 2025. But this is an area of growth because where we aim for all of our schools 100% in good or better repair, we had 2 that got fair. But as you heard in February, those different things, a number of them, it's a spot in time. Luckily, our Anthony Parada is here to answer any specific questions, but it's a point in time. And a lot of those things that were district level, things like stained ceiling tiles, light bulbs are out. Those were already replaced in February when that happened, and things at the school site level were assigned to the school principal. The most common one when I was reading through those FIT reports was people were storing things on top of their cupboards too high, and they needed to take those down. But you're not allowed to fix them and then revise your report. You do better for next year. You fix them, and you do better for next year. So that is an area of growth, though. We really want to be 100% good or better on our FIT reports. All right, and I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Najarro to give you a little more info on our educational partner involvement and feedback.
Okay. So back on slide 3, we were explaining the LCAP overview, and it was part of it was about the educational partners. And so that's the part we're at now. We did goals and actions, and we did the metrics. So now we want to share about the impact of the educational partners. So we have had a lot of different opportunities for our educational partners to give their input. We have our staff, our families, our students, and our community members. And we've had our surveys, we've had our parent advisory committees, our student advisory committees, we've had our partner meetings, ELAC, DLAC, you name it, we've had opportunities for parents to participate. We've talked a lot about our surveys, and this is just a little bit of a summary of our different surveys. And if like Mr. Garcia was able to attend and heard in detail about our surveys, but a summary of them was our families. And Dr. Prince just talked about it. Our families felt that that our schools provide safe learning environment, and of course we've talked about minimal barriers to engagement. Our students said that they felt safe at school and they were focusing on emotional regulation engagement. 80% of our teachers felt confident in their teaching abilities, and 80% of our teachers and 65% of our staff really felt confident in our leadership and focused on supporting teachers and student behavior. So that really guided our action steps for of course, one of the areas I focus on, which is targeted professional learning and really making sure we align our professional learning days with our staff learning needs to ensure clarity on our objectives, and making sure we have clear coaching, making sure we're looking at restorative practices, and really focusing on those student connections. And that all comes from that educational feedback from our partners. And then what's really important, and this is a key aspect of when, way back, when the LCAP came into play, one of the key pieces was that the LCAP was not a document that was developed in isolation. That was a really important piece, that the LCAP was not something that was just developed in a room by the executive director, the assistant soup. It was always meant to be a community document. And so this again is the slide showing where in each one of the goals that community input really impacted what we do, so that it really is, the LCAP really is a Glendora community, staff, parents, student document. That this is not a document that we here in Ed Services are just saying, this is us, it's really all of Glendora. And so that's why this piece is so important. The last piece, and we presented again on slide 3, the first piece was the budget overview for parents. We're now presenting that in the last piece, and Jeanette Walzak is going to talk a little bit about that.
Thank you, Dr. Naharro. So just real quick regarding the different actions and budget versus the estimated expenditures for the end of the year. So as we know, each goal we have corresponding actions. So some of the budgeted, for example, goal 1, the estimated expenditures is 4.6 versus 5.6, and then the total budgeted and estimated for budget is 10 million, and the estimated expenditures for the end of the year is $9.2 million. So when something like this happens, usually there's funds carry over to the following years. So then when we do our budget for 25-26, we take that into consideration as well. And then here's a graph just illustrating the budget in red versus the estimated expenditures in the blue for the different goals for goal 1, goal 2, goal 3, and goal 4. And also for the budget later on, we'll see a little bit more regarding this. And then I'll turn it back to Dr. Prince.
All right, now it's actually the team effort. Thank you for your attention. What questions do you have of us?
Thank you. We'll come to back to the board for questions. You want to start? Trustee Garcia?
Pick on me because you know I always have a question. A need for clarification. In page 14 of 45, let me see where I can orient you. There's on the far left, there's 15, 16, 17, these numbers on the left.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me what the difference is between 15 and 17 as it relates to the college and career indicator? I'm looking at the actual LCAP, not this.
Yeah, so good catch there. There are oftentimes, the county has a number of required metrics. And a lot of times those required metrics are extremely repetitive. Mm-hmm. So in order to meet the college and career indicator, you can do that with, you can get proficient or above on your CASP test. You can get a 3 or a 4 on your AP exam. You can pass the CTE, get all the way through a pathway. You can complete. So that would be your CCI. But then they also require you to break that down by how did they meet it? So you have 1 for how did you meet that, or the overall, how many met it, that's 17, and then how did you meet it is broken down in the other area.
Okay, so looking at 17 now, if I'm reading this correctly, you've got your benchmark or baseline saying that out of all the students, 51.1%, I guess, were prepared based on the college and career indicator, correct?
Last year.
last year, 23. And then your goal is 54.1 by 2026.
Yes.
So that's, quite a jump. And what I want to know is exactly what are we doing in that particular, that we're talking about high school, right?
Yeah.
What actionable things can you list that you're actually doing to increase that number by that drastic percentage?
Yeah, so we went big. We were, and it's, when you look at it, you go 3%, not that. 3% on that number of students is a huge jump. It's a lofty goal.
Well, yeah,
for
if we're only
1% per
jumping
year.
1%, but yet you want to jump,
Yeah, 1%
yeah.
a year.
Yeah.
I'm going for the big haul. So a lot of things that we're doing, we've been working on some of our CTE pathways to try to make them more aligned, having our counselors, when they are scheduling students, having them really cognizant of talking to the student if they go through year one, but they're not going into year two. Like, this is a way that you can meet the college indicator. Are there things we can do with your schedule to keep you in this? Maybe take a 0 period or a 7th period to see if they can increase those completers. But they're also looking at some of the things like actually tracking when our counselors meet with each student. Are they on track to meet CCI? And really looking at that in their scheduling. And that was something that we just started at the beginning of the 24-25 school year at GHS.
So that concerns me because, again, as a parent of 3, 2 who have now graduated, isn't that the role of a counselor to do that? So
Yeah.
why is it something that just started 2 years ago?
Well, I will say the data sheet where we check it off and track it is something that has just started, and really especially the focus with our special education group. We've always looked at ensuring our students are succeeding. Looking at how do we increase their ability on the CASP test. Are we using interim assessments, which we're going to start doing this coming year? Are we giving them opportunities, opening up as many opportunities for the AP exams? We just started this year actually tracking it on their graduation sheet. So that was a recent change. They've always looked at them, but now we're actually like a physical check this box and make sure you thought of this as a reminder.
So as you know, the college application process has changed drastically, right? And just applying to college and what that looks like has changed quite a bit, and I think it continues to change every year, but especially post-COVID. What type of training, like intentional training, have our counselors had in order to be up to date with those changes?
One of the things we will be doing this year is our initiative where we're having the partnership, our CCGI partnership. We had that MOU that we actually signed at our last board meeting, where we have the partnership that is actually required, where they will be able to port all of our transcripts. So students that will be applying to UCs and Cal States and other community colleges, all of their transcripts will be porting in, and they will be tracking all of that, which will help with A to G completions. But part of that partnership will also be having some professional development with our counselors as well as with our students on all of those processes. So we'll be upcoming this school year as part of that partnership. We will be having some additional professional development with our counselors as well as counseling with our students on different ways to select classes and go through that process of thinking about class selection and monitoring and tracking themselves. So what students will be able to access that portal at any time to be able to self-monitor as well, and our counselors will be getting training on that so they can also then train students to self-monitor and check those portals as well. So that's actually going to be a very wonderful added bonus for all of our students. All of our students will be having access to that and logins for that, so that they can always check, and it'll tell them exactly where they are in the process. And it'll also help with their applications, because entering all of that and entering it in accurately is actually very challenging, and it'll all be done for them. So that'll be a great.
So is that something that's going to be happening this coming school year? And that sounds like something that at least the training or the learning how to use this, it should be part of our CCP class, college and career, that the kids are taking over the summer.
We are working, like I said, we just signed into the MOU agreement with them. We approved that at our last board meeting. So right now, we're doing all the onboarding right now. So as soon as that, it's a process. They access our data, they start importing everything. So it's just happening right now. So we're in the process of they have data checks, they have to make sure all of our transcripts port correctly with their system. So it's just something we're doing over the summer.
And
right now.
our counselors are getting training in this?
They
and all
will
that
be,
good stuff.
yep, once all that goes through.
Okay, now, the CTE pathway completers, currently, we're at 7.4%. And your goal for, I don't know if it's 26 or 26, because you don't have 25 in here, is 11%. How?
So again, that's looking at those, our counselors really being cognizant in the scheduling process, encouraging students. We also, for example, aviation has an introductory course that's gives students the teaser before they have to fully commit to 2 years, so it gains that interest, and then hopefully it'll get them to commit for the 2 years to make it a more solid, increasing the completer percentage.
Okay, so that's aviation, and that's this year. But what have we been, what are we doing this year to meet this, this goal of 11% that we didn't do last year?
So in the 24-25 year, it was really looking at that, the edit of that counseling sheet and ensuring that you're talking to the student. If they're saying, oh, I don't want to continue in whatever pathway, graphic design. Well, you are partway through the pathway, you're already halfway there. Is there some way we can work your schedule? Because there are times where you have a student that just, they're in band and they're in football and they want to take a CT pathway, and there are times where schedule is just not conducive, but our counselors are consciously working harder to make sure that they are working with students to see if there's any way we can get that completion, and also providing more support to our special education students so that hopefully they can continue in those CTE pathways and do the full 2 years to completion.
I understand that some of our lowest numbers are with our special education, and that, has an effect on our total number.
Yeah.
But the reality is that all students need to be served in this way, right? They all need that guidance. And so I personally, because of my experience with the counseling team, and again, having had kids go through the system, I have, a different perspective. And I feel that I would like to learn more about how our counselors are meeting with our students. So as you develop this program, as you go through the training, if maybe you can invite me, because I do get a lot of questions and concerns, especially for rising seniors or juniors, that all of a sudden they're like, oh snap, I gotta apply for college, and I have a lot of questions. I personally had to pay for a college counselor for my daughter because, and I know that that's a very privileged position to be in, right? That's not something that we should be expecting our parents to do. That is something that we should be providing our students 100%. And I feel we have a little bit of room, and I see you acknowledge it. You are acknowledging it. I just would like to see a little bit more intention in that. And if that means that it requires more funding, I would like to see it, reflected, because I went and took the time to compare other districts and their CCI scores, and I'm not going to say them right now, but it doesn't look good, and we could do so much better. And I want to make sure that we are being intentional about those numbers, and that we're doing everything we can to make sure our students have the guidance that they need to be able to be ready to apply to college. And it should start probably in 8th grade, in my opinion, right? But it's also could change. There could be a child in 9th grade who says, I don't want to go to college, but then they may change their mind, come junior year. So I know that as a board, we can establish that the A through G should be Glendora's high school requirement. Like if you want to get a high school diploma from Glendora, you have to have met all A through G requirements, right? I know other districts that have that as in our school, in our district, you don't have to, right? You have to meet certain credits, but it doesn't have to be an A through G requirement. And I really think that we should be preparing our students to have a choice, right? That at the end of when they're done with their senior year, that they have a choice whether they want to go to college or not, and that they're thoroughly prepared and ready to go. So right now, you're telling me that only 52% of our students are ready to do that, and that just is not.
According to the CCI indicator. We also do, I do wanna mention, you had talked about it should start in 8th grade. We do have a future tartan night.
I love that,
They talk to
yeah.
the 8th graders, they talk about college, we have Tartan University at the high school. There's also a group of our most at-risk students who have extra support with our counselors. And they meet with those, and then we also have our AVID programs. So we do have some, it isn't as broad as we would love it to be, of course, but we do have supports for our students and families like Tartan University and Future Tartan Night and AVID in supporting those so that hopefully families who aren't able to go out and get a college counselor do have access to
And
those
I know we
supports.
have that, and I know this is long, I'm sorry, but I do have a lot of questions. I know the college-wise program that is currently at the high school is very helpful, extremely helpful. But unfortunately, it's like after school in the evening, so it's not like a mandatory thing for students to attend. And it's such an informative thing that I feel like maybe if we can make it part of the curriculum where kids actually have to listen to this so they understand or at least start to develop some questions and start thinking about their future in that way. Because again, when you make it in the evening, I know we're trying, and we could do both, right? So make sure we open it up to all families that can attend, but making it so that it's, kids have to sit through that kind of stuff and listen to these things, I think it's important.
But there is more to Tartan University than just the presentations. There are hours, although it is off times, there are weekend and evening hours where you don't have to hire a college counselor for those applications and those essays, but there's opportunities where our counselors are available for just that. They're there for our students that are applying for college, off hours, for Tartan University, so for students to get help with those applications and all of those essays through Tartan University, where through our A to G grants, through part of college-wise, so that it isn't just someone who's fortunate to do that. And we also did the writing boot camp through college-wise this year for students to be able to get support with their essays. So we are finding, through a variety of funding sources, ways to support our students for those processes as well.
Thank you for mentioning Tartan University, because I do know that they do offer you guys offer a plethora of services through Tartan University that maybe some parents are not aware of. So you saying that is extremely important. I think that's all I have. I do have some other questions, but I think I'll send them over to Dr. DeGrazia to forward to whoever can answer them, for the sake of time.
Thank you for acknowledging that statement. Dr. Cam.
No questions. Thank you very much.
Dr. Munoz.
No questions, thank you.
I just have a couple of quick acknowledgements. I think goals 2 and 3 are in pretty good place. I'm not, goal 4, I'm a little bit, goal 1, I'm not pleased with at all from a standpoint of my understanding of this. Basically what I see is that, 23 we were at a level of math and English, 24 we went down in math and English, and in 26 we have elevated, we think we're gonna get there. And I don't have any idea how 2025 is yet, but I'm optimistic about that based on, the heavens, giving me some acknowledgement. But I also have work that I have to do that acknowledges where we're at. So, I'm going to proceed with the work that I have to do based on, we think we're going to make the goals we established for in other words, I'm not happy with the math and English scores. They all went down. The other stuff looks good. The attendance, kudos to us. Family stuff and education, good for us. I don't think the fit reports? I don't think the fit reports.
They're a required metric.
I understand, and I understand them clearly, but they didn't even come out as good as I think they should have, and I think that's evidence. So I am looking forward to you telling me when I'm gonna have the 2025 data. In your opinion?
We will be able to report to the board probably late August, early September. Private data, it'll be public in October.
That's fine, I just need to know that personally. So I'm reading the goal 1, I'm reading this correctly, right? My
Yes.
closing comment is on the partner survey summary. do you think that 61% of our teachers having a positive view of school leadership is a good number? Because I do not.
Yeah, so that is one that we were looking at, and Dr. Naharro had mentioned where we're looking at coaching and providing coaches for our principals who need it, looking at more mentors. Dr. Osborne and I have also been looking at ways we can support our school leaders. So yes, that is an area of focus for us, 100%.
We also have a more novice group of leaders than we've had in previous years, and we are with a more veteran and expertise teaching staff. So you have a veteran and expertise teaching staff who in previous years had a more veteran and expertise, more veteran leadership in compared to what they have now, which makes a difference in their perception of leadership. It's important to note that.
We are
I
also.
appreciate that point.
Yeah, we are also sending our principals. A number of them did some AXA, which is our basically kind of our administrator network, did some academies. They are wonderful academies, and we had some last year who did our special education academy, our principal academy, curriculum and instruction, and we are doing those catering to the needs of that administrator. And then we have some others who are going to be doing those this year. So we have another doing special education, 3 doing the principal academy. So not only does that give them some really good training, it also gives it from folks who aren't their evaluators, so that they really feel safe talking about, here's what I need, here's something I encountered. But then it also increases their network of resources. So we are looking at that, and we're taking it seriously.
So this is just a point in time, you're gonna do some things that you said, and when are you gonna do another survey?
It'll be in February, and we can actually, as soon as we close that at the end of February 2026, those we get immediate results on, and we'll be able to report to you right at the end of the survey.
Okay, that's good enough for me, but I'll be looking forward to that.
Absolutely.
That status. All right, thank you for that report very much. So that'll bring us back to the next item, which is the public hearing for the same thing that we just heard, and thank you for that agenda item like that. So the public hearing is now open. It's 9:28. Or excuse me, it says, yeah, I'm looking at the wrong, yeah, it's 7, yeah, that's Central Time, I'm sorry. It's 7:28, looked at the wrong column. It's 7:28, the public hearing's open for the LCAP plan. And are any public comments? I don't see any cards, so we are opening public comment. And it's 7:28 and 15 seconds. We will close the public comment. Any comments from the Board of Education? Anything further? Trustee Garcia, you said you're gonna forward some additional questions to the superintendent, and then I'm sure he'll share that back with us if there's any need to do that. So we will close the public hearing at the time aforementioned. Is there any further discussion on the issue? No? Is there a motion for approval?
No, there's no motion.
We don't have to approve it? Oh.
That's Thursday.
And we can't do a way further reading on this one and move, we cannot do that? Okay.
You have to wait for me to present the local indicators on Thursday.
Right, but the indicators all look good. Are they changing?
The local one she can't reveal until.
Unfortunately.
But the slide,
They're in there.
the slide looked good unless that's gonna change, so, okay. So we don't have to do anything. So the public hearing was just for the public, no board action?
That is correct.
Okay,
We cannot have the approval and
we'll have it Thursday. Date certain, all right. Thank you. 5.4 is staff presentation and information for the 2024-2025 estimated actuals and the 2025-2026 fiscal year budget. Dr. DeGrazia.
Yes, I invite Ms. Walzak and Ms. Medina, our Director of Fiscal Services and our Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, to present on where we ended with estimated 24-25 and how we are projecting budgetary figures for 25-26.
All right, well, good evening, everyone. It's that time of year again. Hopefully, we won't make you fall asleep. but we're gonna try and just be efficient and go through some data points. So basically, tonight we're presenting the 2025-26 proposed budget, developed in collaboration with information from LACO, FICMAT, school services, and of course aligning with the governor's May revise. This is also the critical component of our local control accountability plan, which Dr. Prince and Dr. Najarro just presented, and it's also part of our fiscal certification or adoption process. Just going through our annual financial cycle for 2024-25 fiscal year, we are doing the estimated actuals, and for the 25-26 will be our adopted budget. And this ensures transparency and, of course, alignment with both the state regulations and internal planning for our district. So part of the legal requirements is to have a public hearing, which we're doing now along with LCAP. And also, we need to have 1 day apart before we can adopt the budget. In our case, it will be on Thursday, June 26th, and that's based on Ed Code sections 42127 and 52062. We have to have an adopted budget by June 30th, 2025, or LACO will freeze everything for us. Some of the budget assumptions we use the governor's May revise. We use LA County School Services, as I mentioned earlier, and then also FICMAT. We have to adopt by July 1st, and if there's any big discrepancies once the state adopts the budget by June 30th, we have a 45-day window to make any changes to our adopted budget to be in line with the state budget. And then I'll turn it over to Mrs. Medina to talk about some other May revised theme.
All right, so I am going to give an update on the state budget. So the governor released his May revision. So wasn't a whole lot different than his January proposal. But what that means for schools, for us, is that the state budget is still tight. They are still facing a budget deficit. There aren't any cuts to education, but there isn't also any new ongoing funds. So he is proposing some one-time discretionary money, which we don't know how much we're going to be getting. So we are looking forward to see how much we will get in that one-time discretionary. He also is proposing deferrals because of some of the budget deficits that the state is facing. He's, making some movements in the state budget that are kind of like Band-Aids, so that what it trickles down to districts is it might mean cash or deferrals, which could affect our cash flow. So we don't know how that is also going to affect us directly. So it's something that we will be looking or watching. The red button, no? Oh, sorry, wrong button. Okay. Okay, so in this slide, I wanted to illustrate the COLA and how it's changed over the budget projections. So the blue column is the enacted budget that we presented at first interim. And the orange is the January proposal, and now the gray is now his May revision. So you can see how they have changed over each budget revision, which they have declined. So the 25-26 did reduce, as well as the 26-27 and 27-28 a bit. The out years didn't decline as much, but what that means is that that's slow revenue growth for districts when the COLAs change like that. So our proposed budget assumptions for ADA are based on the highest of the three methods, which we illustrate below. So you can either do the 3 prior year average ADA. So for us, it was 6,133.26. Prior year ADA for us was 6,170.5, and then current year ADA is 6,015.36. So we will be funded off of the prior year ADA for 25-26, which is 6,170.5. So our student enrollment assumptions, here is a 5-year outlook. So we are showing you 23, 24, and forward. So as you can see in what we've talked about in our previous updates is that we have declining enrollment. Although we were very fortunate for 24-25, we did increase by 6 students, which was a result of transfers and then returning families. We don't expect that in the out years, which if it increases, that we're going to be extremely happy about that. But using our current projections, we are showing that we will be decreasing in the out years. We're losing about 125 students in 25-26, and then drops down another 100 students in 26-27, and then another 75 in 27-28. Now I will hand it back over to Jeanette to go over the general fund revenues and expenditures.
Thank you, Araceli. So for the general fund unrestricted revenues, our total is 78.6 million. And as you can see, we don't have any federal revenue. Those are all restricted revenues. And then for the restricted revenues general fund, there's no LCFF. However, we have the federal revenue at 2.7 million. And then the total is 17.9 million. We just wanted to illustrate what our revenue makes up for both restricted and unrestricted. So our LCFF makes up 78% of our total general fund revenue, where federal is 3%, and then other state is 11%, and then other local is 8%. For the general fund unrestricted expenditures for 2025-26, our total is 66.9 million, and about 80% of our expenditures are salaries and benefits. For our restricted, for this current 25-26 proposed budget, we are at $39.7 million. Okay, so for the expenditures chart, I'm sorry, for the expenditure charts, we just wanted to show like a pie chart of the different components of our expenditures with the salaries, the benefits, materials and supplies, and contracted services. And then next slide will be Araceli talking about the assumptions for our staffing.
All right, so here is a 4-year outlook of our general fund expenditure assumptions for staffing. So these are full-time equivalents in each of those categories. So in 24-25, we had a total of 627.46 FTEs. 25-26 decreases to 625.86 FTEs. 26-27 is 617.86 FTEs, and in 27-28 it's 615.86 FTEs. So the district has maximized one-time fund opportunities to fund temporary positions, and the reductions you're seeing in the certificated section are through attrition and the expiration of one-time grants. So next, I'll be discussing the general fund contribution for special education. So this chart is a 5-year view of how much our special education is impacting our general fund. We continue to see a growing encroachment on the general fund to support SPED services. On the next slide, I'll talk about the key cost drivers that are affecting the increase in expenditures, but you could see just over the years how our projections are continuing to increase for special education. So some of the expenditure challenges that we are facing and other districts as well is the increased need of contracted services. We also have some students that have returned or that have been placed in residential treatment centers, and those are extremely costly. There's been an increase to sped transportation. There's rising costs that are driven by IEPs, which are mandated, which some of those include additional staffing. There's high cost. We have a large number of full-time equivalents for instructional aides that are needed to support the special education program. But this does highlight the need to analyze those positions and directly look at what is mandated by IEPs and what is needed for class support. And then there's also just ongoing salary and benefit increases. Now I'll jump into the multi-year assumptions for our local control funding formula revenue. So for 25-26, we are projected to have total LCFF funding of $76.1 million. For 26-27, $77.2 million, and for 27-28, $78.9 million. This is our unrestricted general fund balance. So here you'll see our beginning fund balance each year, followed by the revenues and expenditures and the general fund contribution. The result of this activity, the bottom line leaves us with $16.5 million for 25-26, $12.5 million for 26-27, and $9.6 million for 27-28. These are the components of the general fund ending fund balance. So it's made up of the non-spendables, which is our revolving cash, our inventory, our cash, our stores inventory and prepaid expenses, the assigned, and our 3% reserve for economic uncertainty, as well as our 3% for that the additional board requirement. The remainder is the unassigned. So all of these components make up our ending fund balances that I discussed in the previous slide. Now I'll hand it back over to Jeanette to discuss budget challenges.
Right, thank you. So some of the budget challenges we've been facing are related to declining COLA growth. So we started out back in 22-23, our COLA was 8.22%. And then in 25-26, or it went down, or 23-24, went down to 0.76%. So now we're slowly going back up, so at about a little over 2%. Oh, sorry. And then also the structural deficit. Many districts that face, we're not the only district, we have the surrounding district as well, are facing ongoing structural deficit where expenditures are growing faster than the revenue, especially after the expiring one-time funds such as the COVID dollars, as well as some of the grants that all of the districts have received, as well as the continuing rise in operating costs. And then another factor is the rising in special education costs, as Araceli had mentioned earlier, and then one-time funds expiring, and then of course the employee compensation and staffing demands, stirs and PERS and whatnot. Okay, so the district, after all of the LCFF, ADA assumption, multi-year assumption, and the multi-year projection, the district is certifying our proposed budget to be positive, which means that we are as far as the 3% REU, we are the stated mandated reserve. And then also it indicates that the district will be able to meet its financial obligations for the 25-26, 26-27, and 27-28. what are the next steps? So the next step would be, we have our budget adoption on Thursday, June 26th, and then the state of California will be finalizing its budget on June 30th. And then any changes that we need to make, we will do within the 45-day period. And then lastly, this district has to submit the approved budget to LACO by June 30th, 2025. So that wraps up our presentation for the budget adoption. Thank you to the fiscal services team, especially Arcel and Medina, for their preparation. And of course, as your business services and fiscal services team, we remain committed to fiscal responsibility and transparency and supporting student achievement. And of course, we would like to thank the board for your continued support.
Thank you for that presentation. I'll bring it back to the board for questions. Any questions?
Just a few. So I'm looking at the ending funding balance from 25 to 26, all the way to 27, 28. From 16 million to 12 million to 9 million. I'm just worried about the future of our district. How can you change that that deficit to a positive?
So that's what we're addressing with our fiscal stabilization plan. As I mentioned earlier, we have our revenue, our expenditures are continuing to grow, and our expenditures are basically going above what our revenues are. So we've started to implement some things to help with our deficit, and we are continuing to work on that to make sure that in the out years that we are not in a situation where we can't meet our 3% required minimum.
Okay. And I know the declining enrollment, it's a problem not just here, but throughout the state. But are these projected numbers? How did you get these projected numbers?
So basically what we do is we do a roll forward. So like first grade goes into second, and then the 12th grade falls off, and then we have a support and help from Dr. Naharo, who does our projection for our TK and kindergarten. So we factor all of that, as well as any inter-district, which is also supported by Ms. Josie Wilson, our Director of Student Support Specialist. So with those things, coupled with our Dr. Naharo and Mrs. Wilson, that's how we come up with our projection. Also, too, in the next, probably this month, and through July, if we have any transfers, that's when we should be coming in at that point as well. So hopefully, we're hopeful that our enrollment projection will somewhat increase during that period.
All right. Thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Munoz.
I'll go next. We're going that way. Just two quick questions. It looks like our general fund expenditures are about 80% of our expenditures compared to the budget are for salaries and benefits. Could you please, if you don't know today, send it to the superintendent so he could send it to me? What our comparable districts are at percentage-wise? 80% seems high from a standpoint of the expenditures to budget. So I just did quick math. It looks like it's 80%. Do you know what the surrounding districts are?
Yes, we have some. I actually have some data.
That you could just
regarding
verbalize
that,
it to me?
So I don't have it in front of me, but I can go ahead and send it to Dr. DeGracia, and we can have him send it over to
And
you.
I know our stabilization plan is dealing with that. I appreciate the question and the answer. My last question is as far as our special education spend, I have the same question as a percent to our budget, how that relates to other districts in the area. Because it seems to me like both of those are high for Glendora, and there should be some special dispensation for us, whether we have to lobby Sacramento or something, to say we need more. Look at our percentage is higher than the average district. We already get paid lower per pupil, and we need more money for that. Or we're gonna do something that, causes harm to that program. It seems inordinate to me. So whether we have to, change the way we spend, go to Sacramento and say, we need, in your budget process, send more to Glendora, because look, we have this bigger spend, right? I don't understand that, so somebody just has to illuminate me at a later time on those two issues. Other than that, I understand all of it.
Thank you, President.
Dr. Cam?
Clifford.
Do you know roughly the percentage of attrition we're looking at for students in the out years? Is it? And
So it's, right now it's at a rate for 25-26, it's about 1.7%, and then I believe the 2 out years, it's about 1.5, 1.4.
Okay, because we exceeded last year, right? We ended up
Correct.
exceeding our previous population, but on top of the fact that so have we exceeded our projected attrition?
So, no, for 2024, 25, our current fiscal year, we did, so during our budget presentation, I believe it was, we were projecting a lower enrollment as well, but but once we started school in August, we actually gained quite a bit of students from transfers, as well as several families coming back to Glendora.
And TK, right?
And TK.
Yeah.
And then also for the 25-26, we're actually adding another TK class, 1 or 2? One, yeah, one.
So
TK.
this rate does not include our incoming numbers yet, correct? Or it does?
It does.
It's,
It doesn't include like the unknown, there's always those
Sure.
unknown numbers, but it does include some of the transfers that we are aware of
Got
as of when we made those projections.
got it, cool. Thank you very much.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you.
No questions, ladies. Thank you so much for this presentation, always helpful.
Thank you so much. So we will move down then to item 5.5, which is the public hearing on the fiscal year budget. So the public hearing is open at the 7:52 for the 2024-2025 estimated actual year budget. Is there anybody wishing to speak on that? I have no cards, so I will close the public comment period at 7:53 and 20 seconds. And any comments from the member of the Board of Education? All right, then we'll bring it back. Do we have to vote on this one too to accept it, or is that Thursday night, same thing? So Thursday night, we'll do the LCAP and the budget as a second reading and hearing and vote.
There's not much, unless you have any questions on Thursday, otherwise it just basically goes to vote. It'll go to a motion, and then any questions, no, you vote.
And we don't have to have a new public hearing, we just, we can do public comment, but not the public hearing.
That is correct,
Okay.
although you will have a presentation, and Dr. Nahara will have a word. We decided it will be the only presentation.
She knew, she was waiting to say, look at, do you see how that excites her to know?
Don't take that thunder.
Yeah, I know, we, as we are with you,
I'll be
thank,
very quick. And that
thank you.
meeting will- And that meeting will be start at 5 o'clock.
Got it.
Yes, it starts at 5 o'clock.
Okay, thank you for that. Then we move down to discussion action items. We'll move through those. The first is item 6.2, approval of the Form J-13A, request for allowance of attendance due to emergency conditions as presented. Dr. DeGrazia?
Thank you. This is due to the effect of closing the district during the fires in January. And Ms. Walzak.
All right, thank you, Dr. DeGracia. So the district will be submitting Form J-13A to the California Department of Education requesting allowance of attendance due to the emergency conditions that Dr. DeGracia mentioned, closing our schools for 2 days on January 8th and 9th. And basically, this will basically give us back those 2 days, so it won't affect our average daily attendance, which is very crucial for our funding calculation. So approval of this form will help protect our average daily attendance funding during this period and make sure that instructional time is credited as if the schools were open.
Thank you for that presentation. I'll bring it back to the board. Are there any questions? All right, can we have a motion for approval?
I'll motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Any opposition? Thank you for that presentation. It's approved. 6.3 is a recommendation that the Board of Education adopt Resolution 24-25-18 approving the temporary interfund cash borrowing during the fiscal year 25-26. Dr. DeGrazia?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Clifford. The next four items are annual resolutions that are brought forward by districts to allow for flexibility, if so needed, in terms of business service items, expenditures, transfers, borrowing related. Ms. Walzak?
All right, thank you, Dr. DeGracia. So basically, 24-25-18, it's a temporary transfer of cash between the district funds as permitted by Ed Code, and just to make sure that we have enough funding to pay for obligations if the other funds are need to have the transfer.
Since you're talking, could you talk about 19, 20, and 21, and I'll come back for the
Yes, okay,
discussions?
perfect. So for 19, so this is just to authorize or to process routine budget revisions, adjustments, and transfers. So if there's any transfers that we need to do right away without waiting for first interim, second interim, this basically gives us the authority to do so.
All right, 20?
And then 20 is the cash transfers between the funds. So for example, if the general fund needs to lend money to Fund 63 or whatever, this gives us that authority to do that.
Thank you. And 21?
So this one is if we need to borrow money from the LA County treasurer, which in this case, I don't particularly foresee that for this year. The last time we did borrow was back during COVID 2020-21, when the state deferred about 6 months of LCFF.
But we're voting to give you authorization
just
to
in
do that
case
if we need
of
to do that to
emergency,
balance the
correct.
fund. Okay, so that was 18, 19, 20, and 21. Going back to 6.3. Any further presentations, Dr. DeGrazia? Going back to item 18, which is 6.3. Is there any further questions or discussion from the board? Can we have a motion for approval?
I'll motion.
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes. Item 6.4 as presented. Any questions on that item?
No.
Can we have a motion for approval?
I'll motion.
Is there a motion and a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Item 6.5 is 2425-20 as presented. Any questions on that? Is there a motion for approval?
I'll motion.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. No opposition. And the last one of those four is item 2425-21, which is 6.6. Any questions of the presentation?
Nope.
All right, is there a motion for approval?
Motion.
Is there a second? There's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, they all passed. Thank you very much for those presentations. We'll go down to item 6.7, approval to file a declaration of need for fully qualified educators for 2025-26 school year as presented. Dr. DeGrazia.
Thank you so much. This is an annual request that comes forward to provide some flexibility in the area of human resources. Dr. Osborne.
Thank you, Dr. DeGrazia. The Declaration of Need is an annual document that our district submits to the California Commission on Teacher Credentialing. It informs the commission that we may need to request emergency teaching permits during the school year if we're unable to find a fully credentialed teacher in certain subject areas. This declaration doesn't commit us to hiring under emergency permits. In fact, we try not to use them, but it does allow the commission to issue those permits should the need arise. This document must be board approved and filed in advance to ensure we remain compliant and can address staffing shortages legally and responsibly. Thank you.
Outstanding presentation. Anything further from the staff? Any questions from the board? Is there a motion? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Passes unanimously. We'll move down to item 6.8, revision of BP 6158 independent study as presented for first reading. Dr. DeGrazia.
Thank you so much. Dr. Prince will speak to this item, but it is in regards to revisions that come forward for this board policy, specifically in regards to online learning, such as our goal program.
Yeah, so there are minimal revisions, which are based on recent revisions to Education Code. I will not read it all aloud to you because it's a number of pages, but as you had it in front of you, you could note that the red language is new language per ed code, and then we cited which ed code that was, and then obsolete language is shown with the strike through.
Thank you. Are there any questions about that fantastic presentation? Before we vote, can we waive second reading on this?
Yes, you can.
All right, well then I'm going to bring it back to the board, propose waiving the second reading and having tonight be the final time we see this. Are there any questions or comments about that?
Just a quick question. Is everything that we've put through here attainable and orderly for the district to be able to provide?
Yes.
Cool, sounds good.
Okay, any other questions? All right, is there a motion for approval and waiving second reading?
I'll motion.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Outstanding, thank you. The next item has been pulled from the consent. It's item 10.4. Dr. DeGrazia?
Thank you. We did move this to the discussion action, needed to be pulled from consent as it is required to be under the discussion action considerations. This is in regards to the emergency resolution for the roofing repairs at Glendora High School in the music wing. They were affected by the fire in March. Ms. Walzak.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. DeGrazia. So on March 12th, there was a fire at Glendora High School that caused substantial damage to the roofing and Building B. So basically, under the emergency provisions in the Public Contract Code, the district is authorized to move forward with repairs without going through the traditional competitive bidding process. And since this particular contract exceeds the amount of over $200,000. So tonight's resolution formally acknowledges the emergency and allows the district to proceed with the repair work, including full roof replacement without delay. All costs are covered by our property insurance provider, so there's no fiscal impact to the district's general fund.
Outstanding presentation, thank you. Any further questions on the presentation from the board? All right, can we have a motion for approval?
I'll motion.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you very much. That moves us to item 7.1, which is approval of the consent item we've already discussed, 8.1 through 11.4 minus 10.4. May I have a motion? There's a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. It's $13.4 million of approvals, the majority being in the business services consent item. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you very much. That moves us to our last item of the night, which is adjournment. It is 8:03, not bad for a packed agenda. The meeting